If you are not meticulous with your preseason training, or if you leave it in the hands of your staff, you are off to start a new season the worst way possible. With more than 1,900 hours only in Football Manager 2024, I tested dozens of different preseason methods and entered everything in a massive Excel spreadsheet, which I use to come up with a methodology that will give you much better results. Let me give you an example here with one of my latest saves with Sporting from Portugal. Here are the preseason results between staff, AI, and myself as FM24. For a squad of 22 players, staff and AI had 12 players match fit at the end of the preseason, while I had 21 players match fit. AI and staff had 7 unfit players, while I had only 1 player who was not fit. In terms of injuries, staff and AI had 3 players injured before my first official game in the season, while I had 0. If you want to learn more about this method, take a piece of paper and a pen because I'll walk you through it step by step. Disclaimer, this video is not about how to make money during preseason, how to set up your coaching staff. This video is about how to set up your preseason training to maximize the results with the current structure you have in place. Seriously, watch this video to the end because one of the last tips, it's a little formula that I created which is very helpful, but to use that you need to understand each one of these steps that I'm going to explain next. But first question is, what's considered a successful preseason? In my opinion, there are 2 aspects. The first one is individual and the second one is about the team. Let's talk about the players first. The first aspect is the fitness level or the condition of a player. Ideally, after the preseason, your player should be match fit or even better, fully fit for the season. A player who is match fit takes less time to get tired during the game, is less prone to get injured, and also will recover faster between each match. Number 2 is match sharpness. At the end of the season, your player should be sharp or at least gaining sharpness. And last but not least, injuries. Ideally, no one should get injured during preseason. I know it's not easy, but you should always try to avoid any injuries. So my goal at the end of each season is to get my players with great condition, great sharpness, and not injured. Disclaimer, the results will vary depending on the player's physical attributes, the hidden attributes, but also your club's facilities. So let's talk about the team aspects. The first thing you need to focus on is tactical familiarity. You should always try to get fluid knowledge of each tactical aspect, but accomplished is already good enough for the beginning of the season. Also, you want to get some good team cohesion. I would say that anything green can be considered good accomplishments. Alright, so let's go to the game and I'm gonna show you how I do this. So the first thing is to set up your tactic. As you can see here with my Sporting, I'm playing on a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, which seems to be the best formation for the players I have in my squad right now. To maximize your preseason, you should have only one tactic. In terms of instructions, I kept it very simple. Only play out of defense because my defenders have great passing and also distribute to center backs. I think it's a matter of preference. I like to start with very basic, very raw tactics, and then as I get to know my team, I start customizing my tactics during the season. Also, I find it much easier to get full familiarity with a basic tactic and then later on customize it to my needs instead of doing the opposite. If you click on familiarity, you can see my team's current familiarity with my tactics. It's mostly accomplished and competent. I would say that achieving fluid for position rowing duty is probably the one that takes the longest because basically depends on all the players having a full knowledge of your tactics. The second step is to select 22 players as your main squad, at least during the preseason. As you can see here on the screen, I have a starting player and a backup for each position, totaling to 22 players. The rest of them, I recommend you make them available to play for the B team or the under 19, at least during the preseason. Unfortunately, you cannot have it all. I prefer to choose having 22 players ready for the season than having 30 players of which most of them are not ready for the season. Next step, extremely important, go to your schedule and arrange friendlies. You're gonna need 7 to 8 friendlies. The way I do it, this is a 4 to 5 week preseason. I will schedule friendlies during training camp and also pretty much every Wednesday and Saturday. So I schedule here 8 friendlies, all of them at home except for training camp, because I do not want to waste any time traveling. Each training spot is very precious, and the level of the teams you play against, I don't think it matters much. I try to mix between similar levels, lower levels, and maybe higher levels, just to find some balance and to make sure the morale doesn't drop as much. Next step is to set up your training. Here's what I do. Week 1 of preseason, every day there is physical training, there is also recovery. Also, I try to add at least one team bonding experience because it helps with cohesion. And I do before each match tactics because it helps with the tactical familiarity. And after each game, recovery and also match review. Second week, I do fitness training every day, the same thing, with the same concept of recovery, match reviews, and match tactics. Week 3, as you can see, I start alternating between physical and tactical training. Basically, there's just one day that we're doing fitness because we're playing 2 games, and the other sessions we're using for outfield, overall, and tactical training. And then starting week 4, as you can see here, I do not have any fitness training anymore because by then your players should be already match fit. So really focus on tactics. I start adding some specifics like defending because marking is one of the weak areas in terms of tactical familiarity. This one here you have to customize based on your needs. The areas that are still behind, that are not fluid or accomplished, you can use these sessions to focus on those areas and then increase tactical familiarity before the season starts. And then I do the same for week 5 before official games start. Last but not least, here's the golden rule to make all this work. This table shows you the amount of game time you should give to your starting 11 players. Follow this to ensure they will get match fit, become sharp for the season, and avoid injuries. Game 7, you have 90 minutes for starting 11 and 90 minutes for backup subs. I try to make all my backup subs available to play for the B team during that game. Otherwise, I usually just bench them. So here's how my team started. As you can see, all players with needs match practice if he is to be ready for the new season, with sharpness lacking, basically an increased injury risk. In terms of tactics, we can see it is accomplished for mentality, passing style, creative freedom, trigger press, tempo and width, and competent for marking and position row duty. Fast forward, most of my players now are fully fit or match fit. Sharpness, it is sharp or gaining sharpness. The exception are the players that we chose not to get ready for the next season. They will now join the under 23 team and get back in shape as soon as possible. The 2 injured players were already injured at the beginning of the save. They both have long-term injuries. In terms of tactical familiarity, as you can see here, now I have fluid for mentality, passing style, creative freedom, trigger press, tempo and width, and accomplished for marking and position rowing duty, both of them very close to becoming fluid. I tested this methodology not only with Sporting but also with other clubs, including Sporting in Portugal and Palmeiras in Brazil, and in both cases I achieved much better results than my assistant coach, my staff team, and AI. If you like the methodology, I hope you can apply in your save. If you do, please come back and comment with your results. And of course, like the video, subscribe to this new channel. Thank you very much.